Check, check, check. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. Okay, so here we go. This is our lecture. My apologies for not being in lab. Hi, Patsy. How are you? Good to have you on board. Got a family member with the flu, and so I didn't feel it was a really great idea for me to show up and have the flu. Possibly I don't have the flu, but you never know. You don't want to be passing it around and doing a little bit of extra daily care for that. So, but by Thursday, all signs of contagion will be past, and we'll be back on site for those of you who wish to be on site to finish up. Okay, so here we go. As I said in the announcement, we'll be working on the Cal Green mandatory measures for residential. Now that's nice. When Cal Green first came out, it only was enforceable to commercial. And now that planning agencies have had a chance to figure out how to get their inspectors trained and all that kind of stuff, here we are 8 years later. And in 2019, actually, it took them 5 years, residential measures became mandatory. So this is really good. Can be really good. It is, as always, more expensive, but it is also better for protecting our environment and making sure that we're doing a good job with our building. Then we'll go over a planning letter, a fair housing letter, community support letter template, and that's all it is. You actually just have to pop the template in there, and then a PDF of those charrette notes that I gave you. Hi, Zabihullah. Good to have you on also. Welcome into the online version of class today. Okay, so let's take a look. I have updated the assignment guide. You'll see down here at the bottom, I've added these ones in. So if you're in the habit of downloading this and working from it, please go back and re-download. Okay, this one I keep pretty solid with it. Okay, and let's take a look at this Cal Green checklist. And so you can get it as, this is non-residential, here's residential in July, and here's the August one. You can just pick any one of these ones. If you look at this one as an example. Now, here's a Cal Green checklist, which is also really a good checklist to look at. These are just really good to have in your back pocket. Let's take a look and see what the checklist looks like. And this comes from the AIA. And so here it is as a PDF. And you go, holy moly, that's quite a bit to put on a drawing. But when a planning department sees that, they know that you've got to, you know, they can go through and just look at the check marks, and it matches what they're going to have to do. Okay. And so I think there's 2 pages of it. So here it is as a PDF. And here it is as an AutoCAD drawing. Now, I'm not in my VMware right now. So I have to do it through VMware. So we'll just look at it at a PDF, but you can just get that AutoCAD drawing and import it as a 2D object. into Revit. If you don't know how to do that, let me know. Patsy, you don't know how to do that, so I'll make a little video of that. Maybe I'll just do it. Let me get my Revit up and running and see if I saved that anywhere. But let's take a look and see what some of those things are. Now I don't know where all that went. It's hard not working on your regular stuff. There it is. Let me go ahead and download that maybe. I don't even know where my download button is. So here we go. So let's just take a look at some of these so that you know what they are. Okay. So this is really interesting. The scope now applies to additions and alterations. Okay. Interestingly, so anywhere where there's an alteration increases the building's conditioned area, volume, or size. So this definitely applies to what we're going to do. We're adding onto this site. Okay. And the requirements apply only to the specific area of alteration. So you do not need to update the existing building. That's kind of an interesting thing. Okay. It applies to low rise and high rise residential buildings. Okay. And yours are probably, I don't remember what low rise and high rise are, but it's gonna be applicable. Okay. Let's take a look at some more. That's interesting. Oh, they're not letting me look at the whole thing. Oh, that's interesting. What's going on there? Okay, so here it talks about planning and design, whether you have French drains, wattles, site development, preservation, and available natural resources. We've talked about that stormwater drainage and retention during construction. We've talked about that. Grading and paving. So this is where the drainage is important. This is why you would have the drainage. And I know we didn't do it on the new, but this would have to be done once the project moved forward a little bit more. Wow. Okay, so it looks like EV charging might be needed. So we would have to look for that. It appears that EV charging may or may not be needed. New multifamily dwellings, so it would apply there. Let's move over here. So you're just going to do these check boxes that they're going to happen or they're not. Okay, energy efficiency. Okay, that's just all the regular stuff that's in there. Water conservation. Okay, so this is, you're just going to check the boxes that says, yes, we will. Yes, we will. You're not going to have wall mounted, so you could put not applicable. So you're going to go through here and check where they apply or where they're not applicable as you go through. Most of this is going to be applicable. This one is probably, you would just put applicable. You're gonna say that you're gonna meet as much of this as you can. Durability to reduce maintenance, rodent roofing. Okay, you'll check that one off. Construction waste reduction, you'll check that one off. Building maintenance and operation. This one I don't think you'll need. Recycling by occupants, more than where 5 or more multifamily dwelling units constructed. Okay, so you'll have to check and see if yours matches that. And environmental quality. So you can just go through here. There's some work to going through here and checking them off. If you don't have fireplaces, you go no. Pollution control, duct open mechanical during construction. That's important. You'll probably meet all of that. It's amazing what's on here, right? And these are all things that we've talked about. But if you have this checklist included and you've got them checked off properly and appropriately, your planning is going to go through. If they don't, they're going to give you their own and you're going to have to do it anyway. So you might as well get it as you go. Okay. So you can put that into AutoCAD or a PDF and include that in there. If you do it as a PDF, if you do this as a PDF, you do not actually, Patsy, you don't need to import this into your Revit. You can just include this as a PDF in your combined package. If you want to import it as a CAD into your Revit file, you may do so. But I'll give you either option. Okay, you can do it either way. You can just bring this in as a PDF, check mark the boxes that you want, or open it as an AutoCAD, check mark the boxes, make it a PDF and include it. Or you can bring it in as a 2D object in your Revit. So my hope is that you'll go through this, really do a little bit of work to read these and go through them and check them off as applicable. And you don't have to put down the responsible party at this point. Okay. We'll skip that. This is this would take in industry a little while to do unless your company already had a template that was set. Okay. Any questions on the California Green Building residential mandatory measures? And the purpose of this, of course, is that inspectors won't give you occupancy, your certification of occupancy, until they've checked all of these. Any questions on those? Does Carrie make you put this in when you do your submittals in 340 or 360? Anybody know? Because I know she includes these with her submittals. Okay, so probably, yeah, she probably has enough to do to get everything else right. And this really is a planning portion of the document. And this is only one submittal that would have to be done. But at the planning stage, at this early planning stage, wouldn't be needed. But there are other ones, like with the energy, there's the Title 20, there's a specific fenestration for windows, there's one for HVAC, there's one for the insulation, there's one for your roofing. There's all sorts of energy things like this that get done too. Okay, well, there we go. That's your main portion. It would be worthwhile to look at these EV charging stations. So as an example here, they're just asking for a raceway. Who knows what a raceway is? Besides, Formula One racetrack. Okay, listed raceway. That means it's a basically it's a conduit or a track system that you can put these wires in that are protected, and it's insulated, and it's set in such a way that it can't cause a fire. And listed means that an agency has listed its approval for it. Those agencies would be Underwriters Laboratory, Factory Mutual, something like that, Department of Energy. So there would be a listed component that is installed. It doesn't mean you have to put the circuit or the wires in. You just have to put a way for them to put it in. Okay, so you don't have to do it, but you have to be able to do it. And then they're saying that your panel should have a 40 amp minimum dedicated circuit space reserved for it in the future. So that's just making sense, right? So you don't have to put the EV charging in, but your panel will have to. So you would check that off, that you would, that would be a requirement of your architect as they start putting in the into their drawings. Okay, you don't have to have it in these drawings. This is just a planning document that tells the planning commission that your architect is going to do this. And then if they don't, of course, they don't get approvals. Okay, so that's all cool stuff. This is really, really good. We have to thank, this is all, much of this has been in the planning Title 24 since the early 70s, but there were no teeth. So architects would put in all these great ideas, and then contractors would take exception and get a low bid, and the owner would choose that low bid, or a different architect would leave it out and that architect would get the job. So in 2014, the Cal Green measures of Title 24 came into play, and all of this happened. And there is enforcement, and it gets better and better and better as we go. Okay, so there we go. That's your Cal Green measures, and you can get to this site, and you can go off of any of these ones, but I did this Cal Green checklist in a zip form. And we are doing residential. Okay, before we move on, any last questions on that? It's a really important part. Okay, then here we go. Yeah, there's little Bernice. She's looking at me going, why aren't you playing with me? We've had her for 2 weeks. Yes. Okay. Next one, planning letter template. So I'll make a copy of it and demonstrate for you. So this is about just a very general, what you would put into your planning letter template. It's either done by the owner, the contractor, the developer. In this case, it would probably be the contractor that would write all this up. And then this just goes as a cover letter with your full submittal. Okay, so there's about you. And so this is a header, so you have to double click there. This is where you would put your name, your contact information, and who you are. And you can just put student. Yes, Bernice, I see. Hold on a sec. I have somebody chewing on my foot right now. Yeah, there you go. All right. All right, so you can just put this about you. You can put your submittal date here. You can leave this as a draft. And then we've got all that stuff that comes from the front page, the address, the owner, the contractor. And you can put on the contractor, you can put to be determined, or you can put ARC DESGN 350, you know, just something that says it has it. What is your contract? What is your target date for this? Sometimes people are waiting for a certain part of the year to be in a tax year. Sometimes they want to be eligible for a program. So when do you want to start your construction date? For us, you can put today's date, and you can put maybe 2 years from now. Okay. Who is your planning jurisdiction? That's County of Sacramento. And hold on a sec. I got to make sure. Yes, the recording is going, so that's good. Submitted to, you can just put, you can leave that one TBD for right now. And for the date, it's going to be the same one that you put up here. Okay, so this is very quick. Here's your project purpose, and that comes right out of our planning document, our planning requirement. Okay, but a little bit more. Okay, I'd like you to develop the need that is met by the purpose. So we did all that work with the charrette, and I've got a little bit more work for you to do on that. But in this section, tell us the need that is met, and then state the purpose. Okay, so you might state that and use the evidence from the charrette. That's what the charrette was about. So you know that you have two competing needs, and that you're going to meet those two needs. Okay, right there. So this one is not easy to do. I can suggest that you give it a try and then send me a copy, and I'll help you go through it. I don't want to just do it for you though. Okay. I want you at this point to do your best to do your own writing. Now, if English is your second language, this can be especially hard. I've found the Google Translate works really, really well. So if you do this in the language that you feel most comfortable in, and then throw it into Google Translate, works pretty well. So you can enter your text and put it in here. So let's go with English here. I don't know where it is. Maybe it's down here, and I'll just leave it like that. You can do all sorts of stuff in here. Okay, so, and you can go back and forth between these. There's some Portuguese, Spanish. Let's look at for some Spanish here. Okay, so this is a pretty useful, I know it's around here somewhere. And I've heard that these are acceptable. So if you want to do it in the language of your choice and use this, and then put the English into here, I'll help you correct it if you need to, because I'd rather have this done with your most advanced verbiage and ability to put work together than to be maybe limited by your grammar. Okay, I'll help you with the grammar. So there's the purpose. What's important here is that you're going to state the need as you saw from the charrette, and then state the purpose. Okay, in the description, you want a clear, clean, focused description. Let me make this bigger so you can see it. Of the project. So this is not just, I'm going to build 4 houses. Okay. need a little bit more on here. Whereas on your document, it needs to be very, very quick. This can be a paragraph or two. Okay. And you should very definitely state, if you say, I am putting in 2 duplexes, each with 2 bedrooms, you would say, in order to provide housing for X number of people as required by our purpose, right? So you want to really develop this out. You want to hit them over the head, or you want to lay out the breadcrumbs that they have to follow. Okay, any questions on that? These are the 2 very most important things. Okay, and then features. Okay, so as you go into that, you might also add, okay, things like we're putting in a stormwater prevention pollution retention pond and French drains and rain barrels, and the right of way will be this, and there will be EV charging stations. So every place where you've got a feature, okay, maybe you're going to preserve certain amounts of the vegetation. Maybe you're going to, put in a garden area or a this or a that. There'll be an area for garbage pickup. So those project features, okay, and again, you want to tie those back to the purpose, whether the purpose is to provide income for the owner or to provide housing for relief of the housing market. And yes, you can send them by email. You'll have no problem doing that. So May asked if you could send it by email. Yes, you can. Okay. So that's, and you can leave it in this format. Okay, compliance. I'm specifically going to ask you to look at the Furthering Fair Housing Guidance as well as local planning requirements. This is where you're looking at, and Furthering Fair Housing Guidance is the housing element. Okay, if the housing element has been approved, then it is meeting Furthering Fair Housing Guidance. Furthering Fair Housing is the portion of the Fair Housing Act that the federal government provides to ensure that you're doing not just the minimum, but you're doing something to make it better. Okay, because we know that the minimum is really not useful. Okay, we know that no movement in fair housing abatement happens if you do the minimum according by law. So they've opened it up and asked for more. So all of that good work that you did with looking up items from the housing element would go here. Okay, so I'll be looking, and that was the housing element was the strongest portion that I saw from the charrette. So that's what this one is from. So this is from the charrette. Let me put that in here. Any questions on that? Everybody kind of, I think everybody's really good with that one. Okay, community support. This one's really important. I'll give you an example. Right next to downtown Davis, on the east side of the tracks, but still considered on the border of downtown Davis, there's a little development called Trackside Center. It was built in the early 70s. They're just kind of like little cheapo. They're steel structure with corrugated aluminum siding. But there's about 10 little businesses that are in there. My judo club used to be in there for about 6 or 7 years. And it was owned by some local landowners. And when they passed away, they passed it on to their kids. And now there's an ownership group of about 9 or 10 members of that family. And they have been trying for the last 15 years. Yeah, just about 15 years to develop this lot to a mixed use development. And it's been through, so many variations, and it's still not on the board yet. And every time they try to do something, one of the 3 local neighborhood organizations has a problem with it. One of those neighborhood organizations is a historical neighborhood. They wield the most power. Okay. Another one had the mayor living there. And so they had a lot of power for a while. And of course, they've done a lot of things that, the first one was a 5-story mixed use building so they could get parking. It would have been great for the city, but who has a historical small residence right next to that wants 5 stories right next to them, full of students partying all night long, so on and so forth. So they had some valid complaints. They've done a lot to do it, and they're down to a 3-story mixed use where only the top story is residence. The bottom story is parking, commercial, and the mid floor is mixed office and residence. So you could have a work-live situation. They've really done a very nice job. Who knows when it will ever get approved? But having community members on board is a big deal. Okay. So you want to enlist that. So you want to list the community members or groups who have already provided support, and you can pretend or that you plan to present your plans to. So the Planning Commission, if you're not willing to go to your local community and pump up your plans for them, they ain't going to give you an approval. So you would list here, of course, the church and at least the small development that is just east. And you might even talk with the people across Winding Way. There's a few little homeowners there that you might invite to a local homeowners. So I would say that you'd have 3 groups. So you would list them and then list a copy of this community support letter. Okay, and you can fill it in. You can fill in the name of the organization, the date. You can fill in as much of this as you can for them. Okay, principals in the project, who's paying, who's going to own the project assets. Here you go again. And this one is not a foster use based on the charrette data. Summarize. So you fill this in for them. Okay. And then they would fill this part in. Okay. And there, that's it. And then they would fill all of this stuff out up here. Okay. but you want to do as much of this fill-in as you can. Most of it is going to come right out of your project purpose, description, and compliance. But this lets them, this lets the planning commission know that you haven't told the neighbors one thing and told the planning commission something else. Okay? Because that happens. That happens, unfortunately. Okay. Any questions on how to do the letter of support? So you will want one of these for each of the groups. Certainly the church, certainly the east neighbors, and then probably the neighbors across the street. So you can just put their name or organization. You can put their address in if you want. Okay. And just put those in. Okay. And in your land planning, you would list those community members and put a link to at least one of those templates. Okay, engineering, any questions on that? That's sort of like, really? Oh, I have to do all that? Yes. Okay, this one is small enough that it would just go through very easily. But you should, we're trying to give you an experience that is maybe even just a little bit more than that. Okay. Any questions on that one? Good. That means I am like super, super clear. Okay, the last one is, oh, and here's the fair housing. Do I have that one in here? Hold on a sec. See which one I put in here. Fair housing template. Let's put this one in too. I don't think okay, so here we go. Just actually copy this one and put it in. Okay, and just say our plan includes. And our plan includes. Okay, so actually add this one in. Just make a PDF of that. Okay, in engineering approvals, you're going to need to have a geotechnical approval, an architectural approval, a mechanical approval. You'll have to look up and see if this is serviced by PG&E or SMUD. You'll need a SMUD or PG&E approval. Okay, so what were all those? That was geotechnical, structural or civil, you'll need a mechanical, and an architectural. Okay, and for right now, you would just put down to be determined. You haven't picked them yet. Normally you would at this point, but we're not going to. I just want you to know that the Planning Commission really looks and sees who's on board with this stuff. All right, they have to know who to go to ask questions. So you can just put those in there. Okay, and list TBD for to be determined. So this is going to be many pages long by the time you're done. Okay, this is where you're going to state, like some of you have already put it in there, that you need a variance to an RD4, or you want a variance for this or a variance for that. This is where you're going to just flat out say it. Okay. Request a variance or a rezoning. This is sort of like the cover sheet, the primer, so they don't have to guess. Financing. If you don't have financing set, they don't know who's financing it, they're probably not going to move forward for something of this size. It's just good to know. So you might say that this will be let's put what some of these are. Private equity group. Could be personal. Okay, you might have some money in the bank. You need a lot of money in the bank, but you might be able to do that. Okay, you might have developer financing. Now, I don't think that those work. Developer financing probably doesn't work unless you're giving the developer a stake in this and you're going to be selling some of it off. Okay, but if you sell it off, the way this is set up doesn't really work that way very well, unless you're setting up a more complex condominium, homeowners association, or something like that. Okay, so it's probably going to be a bank financing loan or a private equity group. Okay, that would be like, they call it a let's see if I get this right, real estate investment trust or something like that. Okay, so somebody might be doing that and you're going to promise them some portion of the rent for so many years. Okay, and that could definitely be on the table here. Or you could be doing this as part of a opportunity district grant. Okay, so you just want to let them know how you're doing it. If you're getting a federal loan or grant, they'll be looking at a lot more requirements, right? Because now you've got to meet a lot more requirements. So you'll pick one of these. It's like, dang, man, it's so hard to build a little house, huh? Okay, not too bad. You know what? This would be very simple for a bank financing loan. Personally know a bunch of people who have done just exactly that. They've taken their property, they built 3 or 4 little in Davis and in Sacramento. They've done exactly what this project is, and they just got a bank financing loan. And what it is, there's a construction loan that lasts for 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, however long that you've said you're going to take to do this. And then as soon as that's done, you have to transfer that. That becomes due. So then you need a full property equity loan based on the equity of your property. And then you're just going to summarize it. Okay. And then signatures will be the agent and the owner. Okay, the agent will be, and you can put TBD, you can put you down for the agent and just make up an owner's name. And then you've got all of the attachments. You've got the planning set, you've got the community support, you've got the charrette notes, you've got, if you're going to add in the Cal Green residential mandatory measures sheet. Okay, so just list everything that's attached to it. And these will each be PDFs combined. So you're going to end up combining these all into one file and bookmarking them. Now, what's really nice is Adobe Acrobat pretty much automatically bookmarks for you. Okay, but then people know what to look for in the bookmarks. Okay, let's see if I went over everything I was supposed to go over. Cal Green mandatory measures, planning letter, fair housing letter, community support template, the PDF of the charrette notes. Let's see if I can find them. I think I sent them to you in the announcements. There we go, right there. This would go in there. And then if you had other information that you wanted to put in, you would add it. Okay? Any questions on that? All right, then I'm going to go over one more cool thing for you. If my Discord will turn on. I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to make a discussion about it today for you to review. I'd like you to consider why the housing situation is the way that it is. And reflect on whether your proposal will actually be useful. Is it a model that could be used to help support, to support the solution to our housing program? So here's a very cool map. This is based on race because, you know, we know the effects of redlining and long-term, how we've bunched housing, low income, social economic housing. We've bunched it all together and we've kept it bunched together. So you can look at the population throughout Sacramento. And if you were to compare this to some of the charrette data that you've already got, you will see that all of the low income areas pretty well match up with the areas that have the highest population of Black. You could do this for other minorities also. And you could compare this to the redlining map. This is almost identical to redlining maps. So you have to go through a number of steps. Okay. And, you know, since the 80s, we've had redevelopment districts, opportunity zones, housing elements, all sorts of stuff to sort of address what we see as a problem here, that concentrations of poverty exist. So now let's look and see what's happened. Well, we've got some spread, but not really a lot. Anybody know, take a guess what this little pocket is up here? Why we've got a pocket of predominantly black out in this one area that's mostly predominantly white. Anybody know what that one is? Take a guess, look it up on a map.
That's the prison.
Yes, that's Folsom Prison. Orange is the new black, right? That was the whole point of that thing. So yeah, so that's Folsom Prison. And so you look at it, you go, oh, well, you know, we've been kind of spraying. Well, not too much. A lot of this is, you know, doing somewhat better. But why is this all of a sudden got a little bit more black population than there used to be? In 1980, it looked like that. Now it looks like this. What is this thing right here? Anybody got an idea? That's Mather Air Force Base. Anybody remember when that closed? Well, as soon as it closed, guess who moved away? And guess who was able to move in? Same was sort of up in here. That one's probably McClellan right there. So I'd like you to just look at this. I'll post this map for you. And just go, okay, is your solution beneficial, or does it just sort of help increase this intensification? It's not fully intensified, right? We can also look at, this is 2000. So it looks like the majority of the change happened between 1980 and 2000. Not, you know, this doesn't look a lot. You know, we just started to get some of that spread out. But even here, right? We still had, McClellan still had, you know, hadn't been totally taken out. This was just a real interesting set of maps that Ryle found. I asked him to investigate the why question. Okay, why does it look like it does right now? Okay, why do we have concentrations of poverty? And this was one of the maps that he did. So as you do your thing right here, you might put into here the develop the need that is met. You may be able to look at these two maps. Let's see if that's the same. I'll just send you this whole thing. I'll put it in the chat and then I'll put it in later on. Okay, another thing that you might look up is opportunity zone and development agency. So those sound really, really cool. The actuality of them are that they did not really help low income and housing. They were a way to get tax breaks for investment. And both of those. And so they sound really, really cool. They do not meet, in my mind, the goals of evening the playing field, furthering fair housing, particularly the opportunity zone, but the redevelopment agencies too. They got canceled just because they weren't in California, because they were not effective at doing what the goal was. Okay. And I'll put these into a discussion board. And you can just, I'd like you to think about it and maybe make a posting. It's not required. All right, that is really what I had to go over for today. Oh, and I wanted to tell you, I did look over your submittals so far. Really a nice job, everybody. Everybody's done a nice job. It looks good. There are a few places where there's some typos here and there, or the development of an idea got most of the way done. Every one of them could have more, but within the realm of the time that you've been able to spend, I think you've done really an excellent job. Most importantly, you've showed that you have a handle of Revit and how to do this type of work. You can definitely show that you're able to do drafting views, that you're able to do sections, that you understand what sign-off pages are about, what the different types of plan views there are, what they're about. Just a really, really nice job. So I want to congratulate you all on that. You're all just sitting there in line for just a very nice, good score at the end when we're done with all of this. Everybody's done excellent. Okay, any questions before we log off and I stop the recording?
Professor.
Yes, May.
Yes. You tell me to my details that I have along the spelling the circle, but I didn't find any circle that you sent it to me.
Okay, so you need to look on your in the and I'll go over this with you, but let's just see. When I go in and I grade something, let me go to modules, and I'll just come down here and is it okay if I share yours and show it, May, so I can show you? Or do you want to do that privately?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Well, that is really interesting. Look on this one. Well, that's really interesting. When I do a markup, it should stay there. I don't know why it didn't. So I'll go back through and I'll do it again. That's really quite odd. Let's see if there's. It should stay there. So we'll see if they stay this time. They certainly should. not sure what that one said. Okay, so those should all stay there. Do you want to check in, May, and see if okay, it looks like they stayed there this time.
Okay. True.
Okay, I'm sorry. That was really, really weird. I haven't had somebody tell me that didn't have. Oh, here's one more too, by the way. Tactile. No, that one's okay. Never mind. Okay, but these are so. Look at how everybody. Look at how nice these details look. These are really, really nicely done. Looks really good. Cool. Okay. Thank you for bringing that up, May. I'm sorry that I gave you bum information, but that should help it out. Okay, good. Any other questions?
Thank you, Professor. I will change it and I will resubmit it again.
Cool. And May, I will put the, go ahead and just do your full final submittal. Get as much of this done because I know that you're having to travel very soon. If you turn in whatever you've got, and you've done such nice work, I may be able to just grade that and use that for your grade. Okay, so try to be sure to get as much in as you can.
Sorry, Professor, I can do until Friday. Maybe I can finish all of it and submit it for you by email.
Yes.
To check. Then I will try to do my best. Just I have another information about the midterm for the tripod.
Yeah.
For the survey.
So I have the guy working. So my modeler was very, very, very slow, and it was due 4 weeks ago, and he didn't get it done. So and tell you the truth, I thought it was a pretty simple set of models. So I did the models last week. We'll see if Tristan gets me the thing done, but that's only worth 10 points. And so if you are an online student and we're not able to do the setup simulation, I'll just give you those points. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Hopefully I'll get the simulation sometime this week. But I was just, a little bit let down that the person doing my modeling just didn't finish, had all the pieces done and never finished it. And they did it. And by the way, pick the right tool. He was working in Maya, which is a sculpting program to do really what a mechanical thing was. So when I did it in Inventor, it was just so fast. It was so easy to do, but always choose the right one. Okay, so cool. All right, well, there we go. That could be any other questions? That was a good question. Thank you, May. All right, well, thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and stop the share, and I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording right now.